So we're still on our last pillar of conceivability, and again, I think this one's always such a hard one. And next week is going to be our drop dead date for letters to our dogs. I've asked Melissa to kind of give us a little bit of an outline of a guidance of kind of what she gives her clients, so that we have kind of some kind of idea of the direction that we're going into with it. But with conceivability, I think it's really hard for people to imagine past that moment of where you're at or what's happening and are we ever going to get there. And I have two really hard cases right now that the cases, they're two behavioral problems, and the owners get discouraged. Like you can see them light up and then something triggers and it goes bad, and then they're just like, is this even gonna work? I mean, and it shifts them that fast, and so it's really hard to build these people up and go, just trust the process, just trust. I would tell you if we're not going to get there, and there's no reason why we can't get there. And so the one is this border collie-ish, cross-ish, looks like kind of the shag terrier piece to him, and usually he's in his crate or back tied when I come in, and he's really aggressive, but once I get him out of the house and with me, then he's fine, and he has stayed here and we've been fine. And so I said on Sunday, I said, I want you to bring him out to my truck, put him in the truck, you go in, then I'll bring him in. And that worked really well, and everything was going super well. And they were like, oh, this is really good. And he laid down, and I could pet him, and he was, everything was fine. And then I walked him over and asked him to get on his bed, and he flipped like that quick, shifted, and they just it just sank him, And so I just took him and, fairly assertive. I mean, I was like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to bite me. You're not going to react like that. I just simply asked you to get on your bed, and that was like a trigger for him. So I just walked him outside, made him sit, and he was still questionable at that point. And I had to be really careful because he had every intention of biting me. And so we got to a point where he would at least walk with me and not that I had to keep the leash really taut. He walked back in, he sat not facing me at that point. Then he finally got to the point that he lay down, and then I just put him into his crate and completely covered him up. And then, they're just like, gosh, isn't that crazy for them just to flip like that? And so I think it's hard as a trainer to keep people motivated into, it's going to be okay, it's all right. My other lesson, we spent the whole hour, the dog coming out, he couldn't be out, he's screeching, screaming, hollering, jumping, lunging, and him being turned around to go right back to his crate. We spent an hour of that back and forth, and he never did settle. We never got to the point that I could be, he could be out while I was there. And so what I want to talk about is how do you stay motivated? How do we help our clients and people out there that are struggling through this training process of staying motivated? Like, it works, it's fine, get through it. Michelle, what's your thoughts on it?
Oh man, there's so many things running through my head. I mean, I've been there. I've done. Personally, I've been there with my dogs and feeling like that it was never going to change, and that they were going to be assholes forever.
Yeah.
And they kind of still are, but in a much more controlled way that I can live with. And I guess my biggest advice on that is to really think of what you want the future to look like, and not think that that's going to happen in a day, but just always think that it's going to be better a year from now. Get a trainer involved and take it a day at a time. Yeah. Especially with those types of cases, take those little tiny victories. Not even in those cases. Even dealing with just even simple stuff like puppy stuff, like offering behaviors and stuff like that. It can be so frustrating.
Yep.
And it's just but tomorrow's going to be better.
Yeah.
And and sometimes you backtrack, and it's not. But then the next day it is.
Yeah, for sure. Shannon?
I think, you have to, it's really hard to keep perspective, but that's really, you have to keep perspective. And some things are more important to fix right away than others. Like, for example, since I have problems with my own dog, Louis had a tantrum situation where he didn't want you to let him out of his kennel, right?
Yep.
So you go to touch the handle of the kennel and he just like come full on like attack you, bite your arm off if you open the door of the kennel, right?
Yeah.
And I know once I open the door that he would just come out and be fine, like he wouldn't jump and bite you, but I didn't want him attacking people that touch like the kennel, right?
Right.
And that is like you have to fix that pretty fast, because he's gonna have to come out. He's gonna have to eat. He's gonna have to go to the bathroom. You can't just leave your dog in their kennel for 4 days if it takes 4 days to fix it, right? So even if you can't fix it all the way in 1 day, you have to have the perspective that eventually that's going to be fixed, because you just can't continue on with your life like that, you know, and just work on it. So that took me 24 hours to fix a new problem that just you know arises all of a sudden. That was a 24-hour thing of me just going and touching the kennel and touching the kennel and touching the kennel like all day long, and you know, so you just have to take like as many steps as you can mentally to get to where you're going, and just see like, if you can't fix that problem in like 2 months, that's not a problem you're wanting for like months and months and months, right? You have to fix that in a couple of days, or something drastically different has to happen. Where other problems can be a year problem to fix. So I mean, it's really dependent on the dog and what the situation and everything is, but if you just keep like, okay, well this is better and this is getting fixed and we're going to fix it, then you can like stay on track with your plan.
I like it.
You know, I think it's been, sorry, this just was making me think of that. With my own personal dog, the new one, and I have a client that, it's actually a long-time client, but we're finally in a place that we're not dealing with behavioral issues anymore, and we can start to, like getting onto the stuff that's not so like has to be dealt with right now. And this is the first client that I seriously, like, I sat down with him on Friday and I was like, let's make a list of everything you want to do with this dog. Like, I was like, even if it's stuff you don't really think is gonna happen, let's just make a list of like, in the mornings this is what you want it to look like, in the evenings you want the car to look like this, you want the dog park to look like this, you want whatever that is, like, and make that like actual list. And I feel like that's what I'm doing more with this dog than I've ever done, and I can't believe how much it's helping. Like, it's really, like, I feel like I've asked other clients to do that, like write 5 goals down, and that helps. It always helps. Like, that is like, you can see the big picture, but I just think just like writing it down and keeping a journal of those little things, and I write down like my new puppy, her progress every single day of what's going on, and I think it is helping more than anything ever has, because I can at least look back and, you know, just writing it down keeps it in your memory, honestly. Like, that it's like, oh, that part of it, like, tomorrow we're gonna work on the downs because it was really bad, where last week they were okay, you know, like, but I think especially when you're dealing with behavioral issues, I think a journal is a really good idea.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Melissa?
I had my lesson on Saturday. One of them, we did a restraint down on their dog. Their dog was very nervous, not hold still all the time, searching everywhere. So we did a restraint down. She peed, she hollered, and the girl just broke down, crying, and I was like, let's talk. What's going on here? And I'm holding the dog down. But she's doing this. She's doing this. I don't like this. And I was like, tell her thank you for communicating. She's telling you something. And she looks at me and I'm like, tell her thank you. Thank you. And so anytime we're doing the restraint on her, dog would, you know, the cycles kind of relax, and I was like, no. Like, tell her thank you. She's communicating to you. This is a two-way thing. You've got to communicate back. Don't shut down, because then that's unfair to her. And so she got okay, and then I had her kind of take my spot after about 45 minutes. And so she's holding the dog, like, okay, say thank you. And I'm having her write a list of thank you moments when the dog communicates to her, and what those are. Because even if they're bad things, the dog's communicating to you. And so I think sometimes it's good to appreciate that, oh, you're communicating, it might be a bad thing, but thank you for letting
Yeah.
me know, because now we can fix this
Right.
and move forward. And so I think of those thank you moments of communicating, because the bed flip out. She
Right.
was communicating message like, oh, now we can go somewhere.
Right.
This is some trigger, but it's,
Yeah.
all those moments are the dog communicating.
Yeah. So I think what I want to do is come full circle as far as staying motivated to keep going and to making this, journey one that you can take a big deep breath with. And I think it's with any dog, and I think it's real to know that dog trainers have the same struggles, and we have to find motivation. We have to figure it out. And Michelle, I think it's really cool that you're keeping a journal. Melissa, you posted on social media your doors of goals for your dogs
The goal doors,
on social media this last week, and I know Shannon, you're very much so a goal structure. This is what we're doing. This is that's how your brain thinks. And so on Thursday, this was Thursday, we got our new little member of the house, and I'm just existing right now. Like I don't, like, I want everything to be good, so I'm just not gonna do anything. So I'm just gonna watch you. I'm just gonna watch. I'm gonna put you up on the bed and see what you do. I'm gonna put you in situations to see if you're gonna pee when somebody touches you. Like, so I'm just like in this big, like, critiquing, analyze. I'm gonna try and figure out if I'm really in love with you or not. And I've got some walls because I'm just like, man, you're really cool and I really like you, but are you gonna pee when somebody scares you, or why are you going in there? It's like everything that she does, I'm like, are you gonna be fearful? So I'm watching her in the yard if she's gonna eat poop, and so I'm just like, I'm on this big, like, critiquing thing.
I think I'm driving my husband crazy because everything is about Siggy right now. Like, everything.
Yeah.
Like, our lives revolve. But it's just a lot of watching and, like, what is she gonna do when we do this? Or,
Yeah.
It's kind of
And
funny.
so it's these poor things are in this testing phase right now. This dog trainer that has this, like, you're just gonna get this. And I think I need to step back and go, oh, but I do have to train you. Like, I have to do something with you, right? And so I think it's sometimes it's easy to sit back and just find the complaints and find, like, oh, they're doing this. Oh, now they're doing this. Because that's what I walk into with my two, really intense. These are really intense situations. And so, they're like, oh, it's this, and that's this, and that's this. And I kind of found myself doing, not negative stuff, but critiquing her. And I'm like, why am I not just training? So then I'm like, oh, go get the leash, put the leash on, you're going to fix dinner with me tonight, And so it just became this like battle in me of, well, you got to train. You can't just watch what happens, right? Because that's what we tell everybody. And so I think it's this back and forth. Is it bad enough that we need to do something about it, or is this something we can live with? And then you show up at their house and they have all these lists and everything of everything that's really bad. And we haven't even fixed this, and if you fix this, then most of this stuff goes away.
I think it's really important to figure out what you can stick to too. And I think, I'm probably going to contradict myself a little bit here. Like, with the new puppy stuff, I think it's something I'm struggling with myself. I need to be honest with myself what I'm really going to make her stick to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right now, she's not allowed on the couch. It's not going to happen. She already is trying to be on the couch, and I think it's hilarious that she's trying to. So she's going to eventually be on the couch. Like,
yeah.
But I'm not being honest with myself, and I'm like, no, you're not,
Yeah.
I think the behavior stuff, though, in this word, like, I think is really hard, because you still have to have those, okay, well, it is okay for you to be on the couch type of things with every dog if you're ever going to, like, live with your dog. But if those situations are bad enough, you need to find it in yourself to be able to stick to it.
Right.
No matter what that means.
Yeah.
And that is hard. I think that's the hardest thing, is that, like, people are like, oh, I'm tired tonight, so I don't want to do it.
Right.
I'm gonna just let you jump on the couch tonight. If that, if their problem is being on the couch or whatever. So I think that's the harder thing when we're talking behavior versus like just us having new
Yeah.
puppies and what their future looks like.
Right, yeah.
Because I know eventually she's going to be on the bed. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like she is. Like she's going to be a small enough dog. It's not going to matter to
Right.
us. That
Right.
so why I'm fighting it now is I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Even like I don't like my dogs in the kitchen. So right now she's not allowed in the kitchen. Like she's not like the other 3 don't go in there, so she's not eventually going to follow them in there when we're not watching one day. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
and
yeah.
the second she goes in there, it's game on, right? Like
Yeah.
So I think with behavior stuff, that is when you really need to sit down and figure out what you can stick to and stick to it.
Yeah. And you know, I have this couple, their seniors are right on the verge of being ready to retire. And they have this doodle, Norman is his name. And he really kind of fits in there, but he's really crazed, and he's young and he's tired, and they weren't successful at crate training. And I get it, because the older you get, the less you want to battle those, but right now that's a problem with him. And so, you know, walking the neighborhood, there's another doodle in the neighborhood that are clients of mine, and they're like, gosh, your dog is so good, how'd you get there? And they're like, best money spent, go get Joe. And so, you know, I gave him the option. I'm like, this crate training process is going to be incredibly difficult because he's at a difficult stage in his life, and he's been successful at just this craziness with him that they've just managed it. And so I gave him the option of me just getting the crate training done. You know, let me take him for a week. Let me just get this piece done, and then we'll take over. And they have committed and so determined to get it, and we're not there. So it's, you know. I can get it in a week. It's been 2 weeks. He's still howling for probably about 2 hours of the 4 hours of his stretch. But they see progress, and they just say, sometimes we just have to leave the house. And I'm like, that's okay.
That's awesome.
Because even hitting the crate, telling him to hush, it lasts for moments. But then when he hears something, then he starts back up again. And so I'm like, you know, I get it, and it's hard, but they said, you know, we want him to know that we are not going to give up and that we're going to do this. And they have stayed so committed that each time it just gets better and better and better. And I said, you know what, put him in the back of your truck in the crate, strap the crate down, and go run errands with him. Who cares if he's hollering?
Yeah.
He'll at least get his 4-hour crate time. You want him to learn to go with you because you guys are planning on travel and RV kind of lifestyle. And so he'll get used to it. And so they're really committed to it, and it's refreshing coming off of and they're like, Mike, you guys doing all right? You know, I check in with him because he's digging, he is a mess. But they see progress each time, and they're keeping him on a leash, like he doesn't get to free run. You know, they're just being very diligent about what's asking. And so, you know, on that side, they're like, when do we get to do this? And I'm like, once we get this done. And so they're like, okay, get it done. So it's fun when people can stay motivated through the hard stuff, but it's also hard to stay motivated into it and not just give up and go, we're just gonna have to manage it. And so I think when you're thinking ahead and thinking about goals and what's really going to happen and how this is really gonna look, you know, being realistic, but I think it's okay to think, I think it's okay to have unrealistic goals to just stretch and reach for. Any other thoughts?
No, I think it's so important to take the moments of you feel like you're getting set back. And I make clients, one client jokes, you feel like Oprah. I'm like, no, that's kind of weird, okay. But I was like, they keep getting super frustrated with their dog-year-old not crate trained and we're in that process.
Yeah.
And, but he's doing bad this day. And I was like, well, what's he teaching you?
Yeah.
And because they're very much like, oh, I'm so mad because he did this, this, and this, and this, and this. And so I was like, okay, let me see that list. Now I want you to write everything you're grateful for from that list.
Yeah.
What lesson did you learn from him? Da-da-da-da. Oh, that I need to be more proactive about it. Okay, good, that's it. And I felt like I was like walking a kid, but when I got that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that with my dogs.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it. Like if they do something that, we're doing the 30-day videos, and it's been super fun because sometimes they'll be a little naughty when I'm trying to work with them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, thank you for patience. Thank you for patience. Thank you for being exuberant. You're very earnest about this, and so it is important it's a process.
Yeah.
No process is complete without a little hiccups, right?
Yeah.
And dreaming big, and that line, it's just fun.
Yeah.
and to think about and to envision it. And Nick and I are constantly going, I love lists. If you cannot tell, that's the only way my brain works is to list stuff down.
Mine too, Melissa.
If I don't,
And even if it's just on my phone, you should send me a list I have on my phone, it's kind of
yeah,
ridiculous.
if I don't write it down, it's gone.
Yeah.
Forever. Of weird stuff we want to teach our dogs. Currently, the one that we thought of this morning, so we're teaching Trigger and Yuki how to skateboard, which has been hilarious. But now we want Cooper to get a longboard, and Nick and I are going to get our longboards, and we're going to go on neighborhood longboarding rides. That's our goal. Will it happen? Maybe not. Who knows?
No, it's good.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
We laughed.
Yeah.
And it's more motivation to do
Yeah.
little things. So
Sure.
maybe you'll see us all riding down the road.
Love
I
it.
don't know.
We're gonna video. Love it.
I'll be the worst at it though.
Oh,
I can
geez,
sn-
like.
I can
stand on
snowboard and I can
Yeah.
surf and I can do anything else, but if it has wheels,
Yeah.
can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, I failed gymnastics walking on the balance beam, so. I'm sure I can't get on 7 moves. Yeah, what? My brain doesn't work like that. Yeah, so stay, big dreams and little lists, I think is what,
think
you know,
that's
at the
right,
end
yeah.
of, you know, conceivability. Big dreams and little lists help stay motivated, help progression happen and see progression as well.